we've got the right man at the table this morning to talk about all the news out there. President Trump saying he is going to be firing Fed Governor Lisa Cook. Says he's fired her already. And the government, of course, taking a stake in Intel. Kevin McCarthy is here, former House Speaker and now Alpha Institute Chairman. It is great to see you as we try to understand what this all means. First of all, just tell me what you think of the firing. And do you believe, as we were talking to Steve Leisman before, that she has been fired, she's officially fired, and now she's going to effectively have to go to court to keep her job, or Trump is going to have to go to court to keep her from going to the job?
I'm not an attorney, so I don't know the official answer, but I think this is going to be a test case. We're going to find out, is there cause? The president has the right with cause to remove her. Maybe there's another ability. She says she's going to stay, so I think it's going to come down to the courts.
But do you imagine that the next time she tries to walk into a Fed building, that
she could have a problem?
There are going to be security folks from instructed by the White House to effectively prevent her from making her way.
Well, the law says
building.
The president has the right to remove somebody for cause. So he laid out his cause, and I think the way the law reads is she's removed now, and she's going to have to go to court to reverse that if she got a decision in her direction.
Okay, so then the next question gets to maybe the larger picture about Jay Powell, who this president has been after for quite some time. Do you believe this is just a almost test case, if you will, for whether he could fire Jay Powell?
No, because I think the Supreme Court's made the decision, and in Trump's mind, I believe he's decided, look, and he's actually answered this question too, he's gone in May. Okay. Now, does that mean the president waits till May to name his replacement? I don't believe that's the case. I believe the president could, as early as next month or the month after, name who will become chair. They've got to go through the process to get confirmed, right, and they'll be prepared.
Let me ask you a different question.
Sure.
As a Republican,
yes,
are you troubled in any way by the politics of what's happened here with Cook? That's not to say that Cook has not done something inappropriate or wrong. Steve Leisman and I were talking earlier. You can hold two ideas in your mind. You could say that she's done something wrong and this has been politicized. Yeah. Does this look to you like it's a weaponization of the president's role? And I ask because there was lots of times where you came on before and thought that Biden or other politicians, Democrats, were weaponizing the system against folks like Trump or some of your own colleagues.
Well, I think it was weaponized against Trump, and I think the court's decisions just recently show that's the case. But I mean, I think your true question is, are we politicizing the Fed? But there's a big argument. Did Powell make decisions for political purposes at a certain time before an election on moving it? I think most people believe that to be true. Is this just escalating it to the next level? I don't know. The country's going to sit back and see which way it goes. I don't like the Fed being politicized. I mean, I listened to the talk earlier, which I thought was pretty interesting, that you now say who appointed who within the Fed. Because I really believe when people get on the Fed, regardless of who they're appointed by, they kind of come together and they're looking just at a financial basis. And that's how I want the Fed to play out.
So does it would it bother you if, for example, you looked at that screen that had the red and the blue under each person, and if either a majority or all of them somehow had red under their name, would that be a problem? And if I told you all of them had blue under their name, would that be a problem for you?
I mean, I know there's good people on both sides of the aisle, and I think we damage people by saying, because you appointed me, I think I'm just going to follow you. I don't think that's the case. And the argument is you're trying to make, is the president creating this, or do we create this? Why did we start putting states red and blue? So we build this up through our own media that we assume California is a far left state, but there's a lot of Republicans in there. We assume these other states, and I think
isn't the
that's
concept
a mistake
that
America does.
I think the hope is that those people on that screen that are Fed governors today are not loyalists to any political aisle.
I don't think they're loyalists to any side. I think they look from a perspective, and then they can have difference of opinion.
Right, but isn't what the president is saying that he wants to put in people who agree with him And some people look at that and say they're loyalists. That's
every
the
president
issue.
says that, members of Congress and Senate, and when they go to confirm them, they ask them, do you agree with me? When you do the Supreme Court, do you agree with me? And now we're getting to the point where people will say, I can't agree with anything, otherwise I can't get confirmed.
But I think it's fair to say that for many decades, cabinet appointments that go through those hearings in the Senate, Supreme Court appointments that go through those hearings in the Senate, they are people with a political persuasion. Historically, Fed appointments haven't been. They've been people with an economic expertise. And maybe there's too much groupthink in there, and we could go through that argument. But have we now turned a corner where the most qualified people who might have very high-paid jobs in finance or whatever aren't going to even want to be considered for these types of roles? And you're appointing politicians going forward?
I don't believe so. I believe you could talk to a lot of people. They'd love to be on the Fed. I hear from them all the time. You look at the number of people campaigning for chair without campaigning for it, right? That is a major honor to do. And when you get on the Fed, you are pretty independent. I mean, you're not interacting with the House and the Senate. You're making decisions, and people are waiting to hear what's being done. It's still going to be that way. And look, the law says you can remove somebody for cause. I have not heard her come back and argue I didn't do something wrong.
And that's what we talked with Steve about, which is
and I think
if the answer was pretty simple, I think you would have heard the answer already.
And had she done that, I think this would be a different situation.
Right.
Hey, I didn't do something wrong. I didn't realize that I was docu-signing something and someone pre-checked that box.
Okay, let's pivot for a second to the other big topic of the day, of the week, of the month.
What's that?
The stake in Intel. And maybe even more importantly, some of the comments that Kevin Hassett made on this broadcast yesterday, and then the president followed up later.
I missed it. I was at West Point yesterday. So what did he say yesterday?
He said that the government is planning to take additional stakes. If given the opportunity to take stakes in other U.S. enterprises, that the U.S. government will and would like to do so. We're going to talk to Howard Lutnick about this, in addition to, the sovereign wealth fund that the U.S. that he would like to set up.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about how you as a Republican feel about this. And I ask because, as we said to Kevin Hassett, since the 1980s, Reagan used to say that the 9 most dangerous words in America were, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help.
Look, and look, in my principle, I fundamentally believe, I don't like government owning businesses. I don't think that, I think America is more affected by competition. I think that's why we surpass others. But I think this is the follow-up question you have to ask to Kevin and the others. Intel is different than other companies. We are in a battle about AI and quantum, and chips are fundamental. And you've got China looking and Xi saying he's going to invade by 27. So this is where I put an asterisk to my philosophical belief. But I want government to do something about rare earth. I want to do something about chips. And I don't want to be beholden to China. Okay,
right.
That's the whole reason.
But then do you support the sale of NVIDIA and AMD chips?
Okay, I'll answer that, but let me finish. This is the whole reason I created the Select Committee on China, which is very bipartisan. Because if you read Graham Allison's Destined for War, 16 times in the history of the world, the number 2 power has surpassed the number 1. Only 4 times they didn't go to war. If we had learned anything from COVID, we are too dependent on China. They control 90% of the minerals, 95% of the processing, and government came in and partnered with a mine, which normally, philosophically, I would oppose to, but I support that. So I would put an asterisk at this. If this is about chips, I'm going to say this is a smart move.
Okay, can I ask a separate question then?
Yes.
Are you an advocate of NVIDIA and AMD selling their lower power chips to China and the U.S. taking an additional VIG in exchange for that opportunity? To me, it's not the question, do we get money for doing it? I don't play into that. The question, well, do you wish that we didn't put that in the mix? Because that does politicize it.
The macro approach here is, how are we looking to compete with China? Are we looking to have 2 separate worlds with China, where then we're getting into a Cold War. Okay. Then we're saying China's taking one part and they're making a chip in this part of the world, and Huawei is dominating in this area, and we're going to try to dominate there. I think long term it's better that if we're worried about us being dependent upon them, I'd rather have them dependent upon us.
Okay, play this out with me.
Okay.
How about TikTok?
Yeah.
So here we had Congress actually created a rule, a law to outlaw this thing because it was a national security threat.
Yes.
You and so many others came on this television program and said, hair on fire. This thing is an actual threat to the nation, and it's like an imminent, immediate threat to the nation, right? And here we are, how many?
Okay, to be fair, this happened when I had left Congress. But in that law, if you read that law, it also put a provision in there for the president, like we do on tariffs, to have to pause or do something different. And I think from a political basis, 100 million Americans use this. And we dealt with this in a Congress
but
before I was there.
You do see all the inconsistencies here, right? Like, you do see that the public looks at this between TikTok on one end, AMD and NVIDIA on the other end.
The golden share.
Now, wait a minute. But I think you're taking a small part and you're not threading all the way through. Because on TikTok, the president says he is going to do something. And this is what, in the president's first term, wanted to do with TikTok, but couldn't get all the way. Americans are concerned, everybody is, about our privacy, but more importantly about that data.
Right.
So what I understand the president to do, what he tried to be before, don't let that go to China. So put that into an American thing. But he's also negotiating with China right now. That's why I think the TikTok is still sitting out there.
And it's a chess piece in the larger tariff piece.
But I think if that data then goes to, let's say, Oracle or something and sits inside Texas,
fine,
that solves the problem that people, and that's being consistent.